Okay, so structure number 1, the purple stuff with the little dots is the rough ER. And the rough ER transports protein. 1 mark for transports protein, 1 mark for rough ER. For number 2, it's purple stuff without any dots, so it must be smooth ER. I will accept any of the following functions for smooth ER. Repairs membranes, makes lipids, makes hormones, detoxifies poisons, breaks down complex carbohydrates. As long as they have one of those, they can have the mark for the function of the smooth ER. Structure number 3, what's the big purple deal? The nucleus, spelling counts on that one, nucleus. Okay, job of the nucleus, stores DNA. Okay, number 4, nucleolus, spelling counts on that one as well. I will accept any of the following for nucleolus. Controls protein synthesis, makes RNA, copies DNA, makes DNA, I'd even accept. Okay, any of those. Number 5, what are we looking at? What's the outside called? It is the nuclear membrane. Okay, if they wrote nuclear envelope, I'm not sure where they got that from, but they might have written that. I'll accept it. Okay, the job of the nuclear membrane is to allow RNA out of the nucleus. Okay, that's what the little pores are for. All right, but it doesn't let anything in. Doesn't get anything. Controls what goes through the pores? Okay, I'll accept that, yeah. No, because that's in and out of the cell. Cytosis means out of the cell. Okay, all right. Number 6, all the little dots are ribosomes. And ribosomes make protein. Number 7, Golgi apparatus. Okay, Golgi apparatus packages wastes for removal from the cell, makes transport vesicles, gets rid of waste, makes lysosomes and peroxisomes. That's, yeah, kind of running out of things to help you out there. Okay, any of those is fine. Makes protein. Okay, number 8. What are we looking at there? Cell membrane. And I want 2 words for the function of that. Exocytosis and endocytosis. Cell membranes. It's only one. It's not plural. Membrane. Okay. All right. Number 9. Mitochondria. The mitochondria carry out cellular respiration or burn sugar for energy, something like that. Number 10, what are the little bubbles? Lysosomes. What do lysosomes do? They digest food, break down food. If they said break down other organelles, that would also be correct in that they do also do that. Okay, number 11. Number 11 is the centrioles. And they help with cell division. Okay, if they actually wrote like pull DNA to the other side of the cell during cell division, that's helping with cell division, written out much longer. Okay, and the stringy things. Okay, microtubules, microfibers, microfilaments, or you could have just written cytoskeleton, which would encompass all of them. Okay, and the cytoskeleton supports the shape of the cell, keeps the cell from rupturing, something like that. Okay, out of 24, so give them a mark out of 24, let them see it, double check your name is on it, put it in the box. Okay, last couple of years, our school divisions had this big focus on literacy, okay, and the ability to read effectively, and not just read effectively like I know all the words, but certainly that's part of it, but also how to read and kind of distinguish things that are, let's say, valuable, not valuable, valid, not valid, okay? Being a good, not so much reading comprehension, that's a little bit different. This is more being able to understand, like from a science perspective anyway, being able to understand a scientific article, right? So what we're going to do in this exercise is there is a scientific article that you're going to read. As you read it, what I want you to do is highlight or underline any words that you're not sure of, okay? Maybe you don't know exactly what they mean. That's okay, okay? That's kind of the intent here. I picked an article that I think probably has some words in it that you maybe don't know or don't understand. If that's the case, just highlight them. What we're going to do after is go through all of those words, okay, and make sure that everyone understands what they mean, because, well, if you only understand 95% of the words you read in a book that's 1,000 pages long, you probably missed many pages, possibly even an entire chapter worth of words in that book because you didn't understand 5% of what you read. Okay? Now, we consider excellence in reading to be 98% comprehension. That is, you understand 98% of the stuff that you read. That still means that 2 out of every 100 words may give you trouble. Okay? And that adds up. So what we want to do is go over that 2%. Michael, question? You can if you want. You're not going to, I'm not really going to look at that part of your report. You're going to type in your answers there, okay? So if you want to, you can highlight right in there, because you can do that on Google Docs, or you can just write the word down on a piece of paper if you're not sure what it means, okay? And then we'll go through them. I have a few in mind, the ones that are kind of highlighted already, okay, that we'll go through, but if there's others, we'll go through those. Then you'll be answering some of these questions here. Now, this is part of the literacy activity, so part of literacy skills. So don't start reading yet. I need everybody's attention up here. If I know that there's going to be some questions I'm going to have to answer after reading a paper, should I read the questions before or after? Before, always, okay? It just makes sense to read them before, because then you know what kinds of things you need to look for when you are reading the article. And I see people make that mistake all the time. Okay? They don't look at what they have to do with the information they read, so they read it and then look at what they have to do, and they end up reading it again. Okay? Not that sometimes you wouldn't do that anyway, but it certainly makes a lot more work. In fact, it seems to me like that would be double the work. Okay, so we want to avoid that. So we certainly want to read through the questions we're going to have to answer. Okay, the questions we're going to have to answer: compare and contrast the membranes used in reverse osmosis with a cell membrane. How are they similar? How are they different? All right, so if I'm comparing, that means I'm looking for similarities or differences. Similarities. Okay, contrasting means I'm looking for differences, and I'm looking for information about the membrane in reverse osmosis and a cell membrane. Now, we already kind of know what a cell membrane is made out of. What's it made out of? Fats. It's made out of fats. All right, so if we already know that, we should really be looking at what's a reverse osmosis membrane made out of. All right, so that's something that you'll want to look for in the article. So I would suggest that you have a piece of paper out right now, and I would be writing down, these are the things I need to look for when I'm reading through this article. Okay? This is, again, part of literacy skills. This isn't necessarily going to make you a better reader, like you'll have a better vocabulary, but it'll make you a better reader in you'll only have to read things once instead of 3 or 4 times. And that's a big deal, guys. When you get to university, if you decide to go to university or any post-secondary, you would not believe the amount of reading that you have to do when you are there. And it's not fun reading. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Okay? I didn't read a book for fun for like 4 years after I graduated university. I was so sick of reading. And I love reading. But you do need to know how to read. And I think that was part of the reason is I didn't know how. Okay? I could read like crazy. I could read really fast, but I didn't ever get what I needed to out of the stuff that I read. So I ended up reading it 4 times. Okay. Now, second thing, what provides the force needed to move water across the membrane in both osmosis and reverse osmosis? So that would imply that they're probably the same or different. Probably different, okay? So I need to be looking at what makes water move across a natural membrane in osmosis and what makes it move across a membrane in reverse osmosis. Okay, so I should be looking for that. So that's another thing I'm going to want to look for. Okay, one process requires energy, the other's passive. Well, we know that osmosis is passive because we've gone over that already. Okay, and osmosis happens because there's a difference in what? Salts, okay, on either side of the membrane. So we have to think about that as well. Okay. Third thing, in a short paragraph, explain and justify if you think using reverse osmosis would be an acceptable way to conserve water in a place like Okotoks where water conservation is important. Okay, if we're conserving water, what does that mean we're doing? We're saving it. We're using less. We're wasting less water. So what we need to look at is, somewhere in there, do they say if reverse osmosis is efficient or does it waste a lot of water? We have to look up something like that because they're asking about if it's going to be effective for conserving water. I mean, reverse osmosis we know is effective at cleaning water, but is it going to save us water? That's what we need to look for there. Right? And the last thing, it was mentioned in the article that reverse osmosis was used to ensure impurities were removed from certain products like wine and syrup. Can you think of any reasons why purists might disagree with the use of this process in the making of these products? Okay, so reverse osmosis is going to clean water. Okay, that's what it's going to do. It's going to clean water. Does naturally occurring water sometimes have stuff in it? Yeah. You might have noticed, has anyone ever drank distilled water? Does it taste funny? Yeah, it tastes weird because that's what pure water tastes like. It tastes weird. Okay? The water that we drink, even if you get the filtered water or spring water, especially spring water has minerals in it. That's what gives water its taste. Okay? Distilled water is incredibly flat. Right, and doesn't have much taste to it. So if we're taking stuff out, maybe that affects something that purists would want kept in, okay, these materials like wine and syrup. So we need to be looking at maybe something about wine and syrup, okay, and about impurities and maybe how they affect water or how they affect these products. That's another thing we got to look for. Right? Is everyone following what we're doing here? Okay, what's a good tool if you're reading through something? And you want to remember stuff or indicate that stuff is important? Highlighting. Okay, can you do that in Google Docs? Yes, you can. And you can do it in a whole bunch of different colors, which I always found great. When I was in university, I had like orange, and I had green, and I had yellow, and blue, and any color of highlighter I could get. Okay, by the time I was done reading my textbooks, they were like a rainbow. Unfortunately, they also had everything highlighted, which really in the end didn't save me any time because I had to read it all over. It all looked important. See, I didn't read well. I didn't read very well in university. I didn't save myself any time with my highlighters. I just made my books colorful. Okay. All right. Which was kind of nice when I was reading it over for my final exam. It was like stress reducing because like, oh, look at the pretty colors. But yeah, okay. In the end, didn't save me any time. All right. So when we're going through and we want to highlight something, okay, we just click on the little thing here. We can change the color of the text or we can highlight. Okay, you click on highlight here and then just click and drag the text you want to change color of. Right? And then that'll indicate to you the stuff you might need to go back to for your answers. Maybe you want to use a different color for each of the questions. Okay, maybe I want to use red for question 1 and green for question 2 or whatever. All right, so remember, when we're reading through this, you're doing 2 things. Identifying words you don't understand, and looking for things you relate to the 4 questions you're going to answer. Probably today, all we'll get through is reading it. We might get to doing the words you don't understand. Okay, and then on Monday, we'll continue on. Okay, are there any questions on what's expected? All right, so you need to read that article, guys. Okay.